You hear stories all the time. Horror stories. The kind that make your skin crawl. That make you glance over your shoulder at night, heart thudding for no reason you can explain. Some are whispered legends, twisted, exaggerated, passed down like warnings from a world that no longer makes sense. Others are ripped from the police reports and courtroom transcripts, brutal, bloody, and disturbingly real. But few, very few, compared to what happened to Junko Furuta. She wasn't a name you'd expect to see in the news. She wasn't the troubled type. She wasn't looking for danger. She was just a girl, only 17 years old at the time, bright, ambitious, and kind. The sort of person whose presence left an impression without her even having to try. Teachers adored her. Classmates respected her. She stood out, not because she was loud or popular, but because she had something so rare in teenagers: direction. She wanted to go into electronics. She had dreams of a future, of success. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. She wasn't wild or reckless. She was the kind of girl parents would point to and say, "Why can't you be more like her?" But all the goodness in the world couldn't protect her from the evil that was about to find her. It was late November, 1988, the 25th to be exact. Junko had finished a part-time shift and was biking home through the quiet streets of Mizuto, Saitama Prefecture. The sun had dipped below the skyline, the kind of night that feels ordinary, harmless. That's when she was approached by a boy, Hiroshi Miyano. She recognized him from school. They weren't close, but she knew who he was. Everyone did. Hiroshi was troubled. The kind of boy whose smile doesn't reach his eyes. The kind of kid you instinctively avoided. He bragged often about his ties to the Yakuza. Fistfights, theft, intimidation. Violence followed him like a shadow. But Junko didn't really know that. All she saw was a familiar face. A classmate. Maybe a little rough around the edges, but nothing she couldn't handle. So when he offered to walk her home, she hesitated, but she ultimately agreed. Sadly, she never made it home, because this wasn't just a random encounter, it was a setup. As they walked, another boy appeared. Then suddenly, Hiroshi turned violent. He knocked her off her bike, pinned her down, dragged her into a nearby warehouse. There, her. He told her not to scream. She screamed anyway. He told her not to fight, but she fought. But ultimately it didn't matter, because the moment he was finished, he leaned down and whispered something that changed everything. He was Yakuza, and if she told anyone, if she even thought of escaping, he would kill her entire family. He said it like a promise, and Junko believed him. Terrified, violated, and alone, Junko was taken to a house, a very normal-looking house in a quiet neighborhood, a home with curtains in the windows, bikes on the lawn, and the soft glow of TVs behind closed doors. But inside that house, hell was waiting. That house belonged to the parents of one of the boys, Shinji Minato. They lived there, slept there, ate breakfast there, while Junko was being held captive just mere feet away. Over the next 44 days, Junko became their prisoner, their victim, their toy. Hiroshi Miyano, Joe Ugura, Shinji Minato, and Yasushi Watanabe. 4 boys, 4 monsters, and it wasn't just them. They invited friends over, other boys, strangers, dozens of them. Some say over 100. They came in and out like it was a game, like it was nothing. And what they did to her can barely be put into words. She was repeatedly, more than 400 times, sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes by more than one person at once. She was beaten with golf clubs, iron rods, fists, and bats. She was forced to drink her own urine, to eat cockroaches, to sleep outside in winter, and to ultimately sleep in fear. They burned her with lighters, with cigarettes, with hot wax. They poured flammable liquid on her legs and set her on fire, just for fun. They disfigured her, crushed her fingers with weights, broke her bones, smashed her face until she could barely open her eyes. Her body swelled with untreated injuries, her skin blistered and split open. They starved her, dehydrated her, left her for hours in her own waste, jammed foreign objects into her, bottles, scissors, hot irons, fireworks, a lit candle even. They destroyed her, and still, somehow, she held on. At one point, incredibly, she managed to crawl to a phone while the boys were distracted. She tried to call the police, but they sadly caught her mid-call, pulled the receiver from her hands, and as punishment, they tortured her even worse than they already did. For her bravery, for daring to try to escape, she was subjected to another level of torment, and no one helped her. The house that she was kept in wasn't empty. The Minato family lived there. Shinji's parents, his brother. They heard things, they saw things, and ultimately they did nothing. Some say they were afraid. Others say they were simply complicit. Either way, they let this happen. They let her scream, suffer, and die. As the days wore on, Junko's body began to shut down. Her organs failed, her brain swelled from the beatings. She lost the ability to walk, then to speak, then to move. She begged them to end it, begged them to kill her, but they didn't. Not yet. They just simply kept going. Until January 4th, 1989, day 44 of this horrific ordeal. That morning, the boys beat her one final time. They used an iron bar, smashing it into her already broken frame. Her stomach ruptured, her lungs collapsed. She bled internally, convulsed, and finally, mercifully, her body gave out. She died. But even in death, they didn't show her any respect. They panicked, wrapped her corpse in blankets, stuffed her into a 55-gallon drum, filled it with wet concrete, and dumped it into a construction site like garbage. Just like that, she was gone. And for a while, no one knew. Her family searched. Her face was posted on walls, in newspapers, on street corners, but no one could imagine what had actually happened to her. Because the boys kept quiet, laughed, joked, and even bragged. They lived their lives. They ate. They slept. They even went back to school like nothing had happened at all. Until finally, one of them slipped up. Joe Ogura said something to someone, a casual remark, a little too confident, a little too specific. The police brought him in. At first he thought they were talking about another case. He confessed, not even realizing what he was admitting to. And just like that, the story finally unraveled. The horror was finally uncovered. The drum was found. The body was recovered. What the police pulled out wasn't recognizable as a 17-year-old girl. It was broken, burned, crushed, and hollow. But it was Junko underneath it all. Their trial began soon after, and with everything that had happened, everything Junko had suffered, people expected justice, expected the book to be thrown at them. They expected them to rot in jail for the rest of eternity. But that's not what happened. Because they were minors, 17 at the time, they were protected under Japanese law. Their names weren't released at first, their records were sealed, and their sentences light, laughably light. Hiroshi Miyano was sentenced to just 20 years. He got out early. Shinji Minato served less than 8 years. Joe Ogura walked free after 8, and Yasushi Watanabe 5 to 7. They got out. They changed their names. They moved on. Some of them reoffended, got arrested again, attacked people, and even bragged about what they did. Joe Ogura allegedly told someone he'd do it all again because he got away with it. Meanwhile, Junko was buried, silently, without fanfare, without justice. Let that sink in. She endured 44 days of hell, 44 days of unspeakable violence, pain, and fear, and her killers got to live, got to start over, got to smile. Sadly, Junko never got that chance. What kind of world lets this happen? Her case sparked outrage across Japan, across the globe. Protesters demanded reform. Families cried out for change, but still, decades later, people don't know her name, don't know her story. And maybe that's the worst part, because forgetting her is letting them win. This isn't just a story, it's a scar, a permanent wound on the consciousness of justice, a reminder that monsters don't always lurk in forests or shadows. Sometimes they wear school uniforms, sometimes they laugh with their friends, and sometimes they live right next door. Junko had plans. She wanted to work in electronics. She wanted to date, to travel, just to live her life, but all of that was stolen from her, ripped away. And in the end, what are we left with? A name, a number, 44 days, and a promise that we will not forget her, that we will not let her suffering be buried with her body, that we will remember Junko Furuta, not for how she died, but for the unimaginable strength it took to survive as long as she did. Because she didn't go quietly. She endured. She fought. She called the police when she could barely move. She tried to escape when every bone in her body ached. She clung to life long after most would have just simply given up. And for that, she deserves more than silence. She deserves to be heard.